Forced to marry at 19, she dreaded him, until his marriage gift shocked the town. The church was small and hot. Dust floated in the yellow light from the windows. Clara Moss stood at the altar in a gray dress that did not fit her right. The gloves on her hands were too big and belonged to a dead aunt. She was 19 years old. She did not want to be here. Her father, Mr. Moss, stood behind her. His boots were dirty. His face showed no shame. He had lost everything in card games and bad bets. To save himself, he had sold his only daughter to a man named Silas Barrett. Silas Barrett was 34 years old. He owned the largest ranch in 3 counties. He had a scar on his jaw from a knife fight. People said he had buried 2 men in a range war. They whispered his name in saloons and looked away when he passed. Clara had never spoken to him before today. The preacher cleared his throat. "Dearly beloved," he began. Clara stopped listening. She looked at the wooden door of the church. She wished someone would open it. She wished a rider would come and say the deal was broken. She wished her mother was still alive. None of those wishes came true. The preacher looked at Silas. "Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Silas nodded. "I do." His voice was low and rough. It sounded like rocks rolling down a hill. The preacher turned to Clara. His eyes were soft with pity. "Do you take this man?" Clara opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Her father coughed behind her. She felt his hand press her back, small and hard. A warning. A command. She closed her eyes. "I do," she whispered. The preacher smiled like nothing was wrong. "By the power given to me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." No one cheered. No rice was thrown. The only sound was a fly buzzing near the window and a horse stamping outside. Silas did not kiss her. He did not touch her hand. He just looked at her and said, "We have a wagon outside, 1 stop before the ranch." Clara nodded. Her throat was too tight for words. Outside the church, the whole town seemed to be watching. Women stood on the boardwalk with sad faces. Men leaned against posts and smoked. A young girl asked her mother, "Why does the bride look so scared?" The mother pulled the girl away without answering. Hollis Crane, a rich rancher with fat fingers and mean eyes, laughed loud. "Barrett finally bought himself a wife. Let's see how long she lasts." Clara climbed into the wagon without help. Silas sat next to her and took the reins. He did not look at the crowd. He did not look at her. He just clicked his tongue, and the horses started walking. The wagon left Red Bluff behind. The road became rough and dusty. Clara held the side of the wagon to keep steady. Her new husband was silent. The only sounds were the wheels on the dirt and the creak of leather. After 30 minutes, Silas spoke. "You hungry?" Clara was surprised. "No," she said. "Pull your coat up. Wind picks up near the creek." She obeyed. She did not know why. Another long silence. Then he said, "Almost there." Clara looked at the land passing by. Tall grass, oak trees, a creek with clear water. Then she saw it, the Barrett Ranch. It was not broken or poor, it was beautiful. A big house with white paint, a barn painted red, a garden full of yellow roses, a bunkhouse for the workers. Everything was clean and strong. She had expected a dark cabin with no windows. She had expected chains and cold food. She had expected to cry herself to sleep every night. This was different. An older woman came out of the house. She had gray hair and a warm smile. "Welcome, Mrs. Barrett," she said. "I am Marta. I keep the house. Your room is ready. Lavender on the window. Fresh bread on the table." Clara looked inside. The house was clean and warm. A fire burned in the stove. A soft rug lay on the floor. That night, Silas ate supper with her in silence. Then he stood up. "Your room is down the hall, last door on the left. I sleep on the other end. You are safe here." He left without another word. Clara sat alone at the table. She did not understand this man. He had bought her like a horse, but he did not act like an owner. He acted like a stranger who had given her shelter. She went to her room. The bed was soft. The lavender smelled sweet. She lay down and stared at the ceiling. Her new life had begun. She still dreaded it. But for the first time that day, she wondered if she might be wrong about Silas. The first week was strange for Clara. Silas Barrett left before sunrise every morning. He returned after dark. They ate supper together in silence. Then he went to his room on the far end of the house. He never knocked on her door. He never raised his voice. He never even looked at her for more than a few seconds. Clara did not know what to think. Marta, the housekeeper, was her only friend. The older woman showed Clara how to cook the ranch meals. She taught her which herbs grew in the garden. She told her the names of the workers and the horses. One afternoon, Clara could not hold her questions anymore. She sat at the kitchen table and asked Marta directly, "What kind of man is Silas Barrett?" Marta stopped cutting vegetables. She looked out the window for a long moment. Then she spoke softly. "He is fair," Marta said. "He pays his workers well. He does not drink whiskey. He does not go to saloons. He has never raised a hand to anyone in this house." Clara waited. She knew there was more. Marta put down the knife. "He is also very lonely. His first wife died 5 years ago, typhus. She was sick for 3 weeks. He held her hand until the end. After that, he stopped smiling. He stopped talking much. He just worked." Clara felt something move inside her chest. It was not love, not yet. But it was not fear anymore. It was something softer. "Why did he marry me?" Clara asked. Marta sighed. "Your father came to him, begged for help. Silas does not like debt. He does not like seeing good families fall apart. He paid the debt. Your father offered you in return. Silas could have said no, but he is old-fashioned. He believed it was the right thing to save your family's name." Clara felt anger rise again. "So he bought me like a cow?" Marta shook her head. "He saved you from worse. Hollis Crane wanted you too. You know what kind of man he is." Clara said nothing. She knew. Hollis Crane had hurt women before. The town looked away because he was rich. That night at supper, Clara tried something new. She spoke first. "Thank you for the room," she said. "And the lavender. It smells nice." Silas looked up from his plate. His scarred face showed surprise. For a moment, he looked younger, softer. "You are welcome," he said. Then he went back to eating. 3 more days passed. Nothing changed. Clara began to feel something strange, not dread, but loneliness. The house was big. The silence was heavy. She wanted to hear his voice again. She wanted to see him surprised again. On the 10th day, Silas came home early. He stood at the kitchen door and said, "Tomorrow we go to town. The harvest auction. You need to come." Clara's stomach turned cold. She remembered the cruel eyes of the town. She remembered the whispers and the pity. "Must I?" she asked. "Yes," he said. Then he added something unexpected. "Stay close to me. No one will hurt you. No one will shame you. I give you my word." Clara looked into his eyes. They were dark but steady. They held no lie. "All right," she said. The next morning, Clara wore her gray dress again. It was still too big. She had no money for new clothes. Silas did not comment on it. He just helped her into the wagon and clicked the reins. The ride was quiet but different now. The silence did not feel cold. It felt like waiting. When they arrived in Red Bluff, the crowd at the auction turned to stare. Clara heard the whispers start. Poor girl. She looks so sad. Barrett's slave bride. Clara kept her head up. She remembered Silas's words. No one will shame you. Then Hollis Crane stepped forward. He was fat and red-faced. He wore a suit that cost more than a horse. He looked at Clara like she was meat. Barrett's bride looks like she is attending a funeral, Crane said loud enough for everyone to hear. Clara felt her face burn. She wanted to run. But before she could move, Silas stepped in front of her. He did not shout. He did not pull a gun. He just looked at Crane with eyes colder than winter. Crane, Silas said quietly, say one more word about my wife. Just one. The crowd stopped breathing. Crane opened his mouth. Then he closed it. He stepped back. Silas turned to Clara. His voice softened. Come, I have something for you. He led her to the auctioneer's platform. Every eye in town followed. Before the bidding starts, Silas announced, I have a marriage gift for my wife. The crowd gasped. No one expected this. Clara's heart pounded. What could it be? A rifle? A horse? A piece of land? Silas pulled a small wooden box from his coat. He handed it to her. Open it, he said. Clara lifted the lid with shaking hands. Barrett. Dot. Clara opened the small wooden box with trembling fingers. Inside, on a piece of red velvet, lay two things, a folded paper and a brass key. She did not understand. What is this? She asked Silas. Her voice was small. Silas nodded toward the paper. Read it. Out loud. Clara unfolded the paper. Her eyes moved across the words. Then she stopped breathing. Her hands started to shake harder. Go on, Silas said softly. Let them hear. Clara took a deep breath and read aloud. I hereby grant full ownership of the Red Bluff Free Library to Clara Barrett. The building, the land, and all 500 books inside belong to her. She may do with it as she wishes. Signed, Silas Barrett. The crowd went silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the horses stopped stamping. Clara looked up at Silas. Her eyes were wet. A library? She whispered. Silas nodded. You told the preacher at our wedding that you wished you could have been a teacher. I heard you. The old library closed 2 years ago. The building was empty. I bought it. I fixed the roof. I painted the walls. I filled it with books. Clara could not speak. Her throat was too full. Then Hollis Crane laughed. It was an ugly, mean sound. A library? Crane shouted. For a woman? What a waste of good money. She cannot even read half those books. Look at her. She is nobody. The crowd murmured. Some people nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. But Silas did not get angry. He did not shout. He simply turned to face Crane. His voice was low and steady, but everyone heard it. My wife wanted to be a teacher before her father sold her future, Silas said. Now she will have a school. She will teach children to read. She will give this town something it never had. And anyone who mocks that answers to me. Crane opened his mouth again. Then he looked at Silas's face. He looked at the scar on his jaw. He looked at his cold eyes. Crane closed his mouth and walked away. The crowd stayed quiet for another long moment. Then a young woman started clapping. Then another. Then an old cowboy stomped his boot on the wooden platform. Soon half the town was clapping. The other half was staring at Clara with new eyes. Not pity, not judgment. Respect. Clara held the key and the deed against her chest. She looked at Silas. He was not smiling. He was not proud. He just stood there like a mountain, thin and still. Why? Clara asked him quietly. Why do all this for me? Silas looked at the ground for a moment. Then he looked at her face. Because you deserved better, he said, and I wanted to give it to you. The auction continued, but Clara did not see any of it. She kept touching the key. It felt warm in her hand. Real. On the wagon ride home, Clara finally asked the question that had been growing in her heart. Can we go see it? The library? Silas nodded. He turned the wagon toward the old library building on Main Street. When they arrived, Clara jumped down before the wagon stopped. She ran to the door. Her hands shook as she put the key in the lock. The door opened. Inside, the building was clean and bright. New windows let in the sun. Fresh white paint covered the walls, and everywhere, on shelves, on tables, on small desks, there were books. Red books, blue books, green books, big ones and small ones. Clara walked slowly down the center aisle. She touched the spines of the books one by one. She smelled the paper and the wood and the clean air. She started to cry. Not sad tears, not scared tears. Tears she did not have a name for. Silas stood at the door. He did not come inside. He did not try to stop her tears. He just waited. After a long time, Clara turned to him. Her face was wet, but her voice was strong. You gave me a future, she said. No one has ever given me that. Silas nodded once. You earned it, he said. You just did not know it yet. That night, Clara did not eat supper in silence. She talked. She told Silas about her mother, about her dreams of teaching, about the books she had read as a child by candlelight. Silas listened to every word. For the first time since the wedding, Clara did not feel dread when she looked at her husband. She felt something new, something like hope. 6 months passed. The Red Bluff Free Library opened its doors on a bright Tuesday morning. Clara stood behind the front desk in a new blue dress. She had bought it with the first money the library earned. The dress fit her perfectly. Children sat on small chairs in a circle. Clara read them a story about a rabbit and a fox. The children laughed at the funny parts. They asked questions at the end. Clara answered each one with patience. Old Mrs. Henley, who had never learned to read, came in every Thursday. Clara taught her the alphabet. Mrs. Henley cried when she read her first full sentence. It said, "The sun is warm." Young cowboys came in on rainy days. They pretended to look at horse pictures, but Clara saw them reading adventure stories. She did not laugh at them. She just left extra coffee on the table. The library became the heart of the town. Every Friday, Silas Barrett came to visit. He brought fresh coffee from the general store. He sat in the corner chair and read the newspaper. Sometimes he looked up at Clara. His eyes were soft now. The stone had melted. One Friday, Clara closed the library early. She walked to Silas's corner and sat across from him. "Can I ask you something?" she said. Silas put down his paper. "Anything." "Why did you really marry me? Your first wife was gone for 5 years. You did not need a wife. You did not need my father's debt. So why?" Silas was quiet for a long time. The clock on the wall ticked. The sun moved lower in the sky. Finally, he spoke. "I saw you at the general store 1 year ago," he said. "You were buying flour for your father. The man behind the counter was rude to you. He shortchanged you. You did not shout. You did not cry. You just smiled and said, 'Have a nice day.' Then you left." Clara frowned. She did not remember this. "I followed you outside," Silas continued. "You gave half the flour to a poor family on the street, a family you did not know. Then you walked home with empty hands." Clara's eyes widened. "You saw that?" Silas nodded. "I saw a girl with nothing who still gave. I saw kindness without reward. I told myself that if I ever had the chance, I would protect that girl. When your father came to me, I took the chance." Clara felt her heart swell. She reached across the small table and took his scarred hand. "You are a good man, Silas Barrett," she said. He squeezed her hand. "And you are a good woman, Clara Barrett. The town sees it now. I saw it from the start." The next day, the town held a small celebration. The library's 6-month anniversary. People brought pies and coffee. A young man played a fiddle. Children ran between the bookshelves. Hollis Crane did not come. No one missed him. Near the end of the evening, Clara stood on the library steps. She looked at the crowd. She looked at the building behind her. She looked at Silas standing at the bottom of the steps, watching her with quiet pride. She raised her voice so everyone could hear. "1 year ago, I stood in a church wearing a dead woman's clothes. I was scared. I was angry. I thought my life was over." The crowd grew silent. "Today, I stand here wearing a dress I bought with my own money. I run a library that belongs to me. I read to children who call me Miss Clara. I teach old women to write their names." She paused and looked at Silas. "And I am married to a man who gave me not a gift, but a future. He gave me freedom. He gave me purpose. He gave me hope." The crowd cheered. Silas climbed the steps. He stood next to Clara. He did not make a speech. He just took her hand and held it. That night, they walked home together under a wide Texas sky. The stars were bright. The crickets sang. Their shoulders touched with every step. Clara stopped at the gate. She looked at the house, the garden of yellow roses, the warm light in the window. "Thank you," she said to Silas. He tilted his head. "For what?" "For not being the man I feared." Silas smiled. It was small. It was shy, but it was real. "I was afraid too," he admitted. "Afraid you would hate me forever." Clara shook her head. "I dreaded the man I thought you were, but you gave me time. You gave me silence, and then you gave me a library." She kissed his cheek. It was light and quick, but it meant everything. They went inside together, not as strangers, not as owner and property, as partners. The library key hung on a hook by the door. Clara touched it one last time before bed. Not the key to a cage, the key to herself, and she smiled.